Stay with me. Let's listen. You're a Hillary Clinton supporter. Let's listen to what she says. She is addressing her supporters in Daytona Beach, Florida, a critical battleground state, a state with 29 electoral votes. She wants this state. She needs this state. And now she's going to address, for the first time since that press conference last night, the latest revelations about emails from Huma Abedin's computer that, according to FBI Director James Comey, appear, quote, pertinent to the investigation into her private server.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Wow. Thank you, thank you. I am just thrilled to be here. Are you ready to canvass? Well, we need your help in these last 10 days until the election. I want to thank Leslie Pierce for that introduction and her lifelong work on behalf of children. I want to thank State Representative Dwayne Taylor and Mayor Derek Henry for being here with us. And to all of the elected officials, all of the organizers and the volunteers, I am thrilled to have this chance to come by and talk with you for a few minutes about what's at stake in this election, because this may be one of the most important elections in our lifetimes, and we cannot take anything or anyone for granted. I was just over at BCU for their homecoming celebration. And a lot of people told me they'd already voted, but I said, get your friends, get your family, get everybody you know to vote. Because you've got early voting here in this county, in Volusia County, until November 5th. No excuses. Everybody's got to get out and vote, and that's what this canvass is meant to make sure we do, right? Now, I'm sure that some of you may have heard about a letter that the FBI director sent out yesterday. Well, if you're like me, you probably have a few questions about it. It is pretty strange. It's pretty strange to put something like that out with such little information right before an election. In fact, it's not just strange, it's unprecedented, and it is deeply troubling, because voters deserve to get full and complete facts. And so we've called on Director Comey to explain everything right away, put it all out on the table, right? Now, of course, Donald Trump is already making up lies about this. He is doing his best to confuse, mislead, and discourage the American people. I think it's time for Donald Trump to stop fear-mongering, to stop disgracing himself, to stop attacking our democracy. We can't let him get away with this, can we? Now, you know, like any campaign, there have been ups and downs and ups and downs, but I got to tell you, I feel so motivated, so excited, so ready, because I've always stayed focused on one thing: you and your families. What I worry about are the problems that keep you up at night. And I'm going to stay focused on that, because, you know, on November 9th, that's what's going to matter. We can't let this election in the last 10 days be about the noise and the distractions. It's got to be about what kind of country we want for ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren. And who can help take us there as your president? I think you and I agree the choice is pretty clear between a president who's ready to bring us together, keep us safe, and make the economy work for everyone, not just those at the top, and someone who is temperamentally unfit and totally unqualified for the job. Now, I promise you this. I will never stop working for you. Every single day. As a candidate, and most importantly, as your president. That's how I was raised. You know, when I was over at BCU, I met one of the Methodist ministers because BCU is affiliated with the Methodist Church. And I felt right at home. And my mother taught me to never, ever quit. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means everybody gets knocked down. What matters is whether you get back up. And I've been fighting for families and underdogs my entire life, and I'm not stopping now. We're just getting started. And let's always remember what our wonderful First Lady told us: when they go low, we go high. So no matter what they throw at us in these last days, we're not going to back down. We're not going to get distracted. We're not going to get knocked off course, because we know how much this election matters. We know how many people are counting on us. And that's why we're going to reject Donald Trump's dark and divisive vision about America. We are going to stick together, and we're going to win on November the 8th. But we can't take that for granted. Remember, we've got to keep our foot on the gas, right? Because Donald Trump's strategy is pretty simple. They've even said it in his campaign. It's to get women to stay home, get young people to stay home, get people of color to stay home, and get a lot of smart, intelligent men to stay home too. Now, this is all part of his scorched earth campaign. It goes against everything we stand for. And you know how we stop him? By showing up with the biggest turnout of voters in American history. We need more of everybody to vote. More women, more young people, more people of color, more African Americans, more Latinos. Everybody, let's break every record that we've ever had for voting. Let's make that the story of this election. And here in Florida, you can, as you often have, make the difference, right, Florida? If you all vote and you get everybody you know to vote, if you go out and talk to people today and every day about what's at stake in this election, then we will make history. We will win up and down the ballot. And I feel strongly about this because we need people in Washington who are problem solvers, not problem makers. That's why I hope you'll vote to send Patrick Murphy to the Senate. He will be an independent voice for Florida families, and this is important. Unlike his opponent, Patrick has never been afraid to stand up to Donald Trump. Now, here's some really good news. We just reached a milestone. More than 200 million Americans are registered to vote. That is the highest number ever. And that includes 50 million young people. That's the most in history. And you know what else? More than 16.5 million people have already voted in this election. And more than 3 million of those votes have been right here in Florida. Now, you only see numbers like we're seeing here in Florida when people are standing up for what they really believe in. Americans are coming together. And I know, because I hear from people who are Republicans and independents who are joining us to reject hate and division, rejecting Donald Trump's demeaning treatment of women, his plans to break up immigrant families and deport millions of people, his lie that President Obama wasn't born in America. I'll tell you, we have learned who Donald Trump is. Now it's up to us to show who we are. And the energy that we are seeing is not just about what we're against, it's about what we're for. It's about a common vision that we share for a hopeful, dynamic, unified America where everyone counts, everyone has a place, everyone willing to work can get ahead and stay ahead, where women are respected, where veterans are honored, where workers are paid fairly, where marriage is a right and discrimination is wrong. So, my friends, it is not just the fact that my name will be on the ballot. Everything we care about is at stake. Your future, making college affordable, helping you pay back your debt, getting the cost of prescription drugs down, protecting and defending Social Security and Medicare from privatization and Wall Street schemes. Fighting climate change is at stake. LGBT equality is at stake. Equal pay for women is at stake. In the end, we know the American dream itself is at stake. Now, did any of you see the debates? Well, I'll tell you, I stood next to Donald Trump for 3 debates, 4.5 hours, proving conclusively I have the stamina to be president and commander-in-chief. But I have to tell you, he said a lot of things that were troubling. But in that last debate, he said something that was truly horrifying. He is the first person of a major party, Republican or Democrat, ever to refuse to say he would respect the outcome of the election. Now, we can think about every issue we care about, but you know, after attacking women and African Americans and Latinos and people with disabilities and Muslims and POWs and everybody, now he's attacking the institutions of democracy. And so it comes down to this. When your kids and grandkids ask, what did you do in the 2016 election when everything was on the line? I want want you to be able to say you voted for a better, fairer, stronger America. And the way we're going to do that, we're going to turn everybody out. Early voting has begun right here in Volusia County. Every day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. until November 5th, you can vote. The nearest early voting site is just 1 mile away from here, at the Volusia County Library Center at City Island. So don't wait one more day. Go vote and then help us get everybody else out to vote too. Now I know that we've got our canvas organizers up here. I don't want to take too much of their time because they are workers. They are organized. They are focused. I'm so grateful to them and to you, and we need you. We need you. Stakes couldn't be higher. We got to do everything we can. I don't want anybody waking up on November 9th and saying, oh, I wish I had just done a little more. So help us knock on doors, make phone calls, talk to voters, and ask them, when are you going to vote? Do you know where you're going to cast your ballot? Who will you take with you? And make sure they know about early voting, already begun here in Florida. And then if you need to, sign up yourselves. We have sign-ups for 3 more shifts between now and Election Day. And, you know, this is going to be a close election. They always are these days. And we're going to win because of you, because of hard-working volunteers like you. And if you know anybody thinking about voting for Donald Trump, stage an intervention. Remember, friends don't let friends vote for Trump. And think about it this way. On January 20th, we're going to have a new president. And I'll tell you what, I will be proud to build on the progress we've made under President Obama and go even further. But I can't do any of the things that I'm talking about, any of the plans that I have, unless you help me. So that's what I'm asking you. That's why I came to Daytona Beach today. I came to ask you to help me in these last 10 days. Let's give every American a chance to chart their own future, make their own contributions. Let's build a future we can all be proud of, and let's make sure we prove once and for all that love trumps hate. Thank you.
There you have it, 10 days before you go to the polls. Hillary Clinton making her case to supporters there in the critical battleground state of Florida, opening with some pretty tough language for the head of the FBI and, frankly, for Donald Trump. Let me just recap here. She said, if you're like me, you probably have a few questions about that letter that the head of the FBI sent to Congress yesterday. She said it is deeply troubling that voters don't have more information in the totality of what emails they are reviewing. And she said that the voters deserve full and complete thoughts. She said Donald Trump is already making up lies about this and capitalizing on it. And she said what matters is when you are knocked down, how you get up. Let's talk with our panel about this. Let's begin with CNN legal analyst Paul Callan. Paul, you wrote a pretty scathing op-ed on CNN.com last night, taking on Jim Comey, the head of the FBI, for doing this. What do you make first your reaction to Clinton today and her remarks?
Well, I'm not surprised. She's calling for the release of all of the information and all of the emails. But, of course, it's not going to happen. And
right.
I have to tell you, Poppy, when I was asked by CNN.com to write the article, it originally just started out as a general sort of informational article about how often does the FBI publicly announce the results of investigations. And as I started looking into it and thinking back of the clients that I had represented through the years, I became angrier and angrier that Comey had, in fact, really botched a long line of tradition that investigations are kept secret until they reach a conclusion. And you don't just, in midstream have a press conference 10 days or 11 days before a presidential election saying, there's some new evidence that's come in and it might be really important, but it might not be really important. What kind of message is that sending to the voters
here's the thing,
as
Paul.
they select the president?
I hear you, Paul Kellen, but the other side of the argument is, do voters not deserve every single piece of information they can get? Of course, both the Trump camp and the Clinton camp right now want the public to see all the emails. They're actually on the same page on that one. But for voters at home, who are saying, you know what? What if Clinton, we find out for the first time that there were additional emails that they looked at and they do have potentially something incriminating and they were never told about them? That's the flip side of the argument.
Well, it is the flip side of the argument, but the judicial system and the court system has a way that it functions in these investigations. And I just want to, it's something that I've been watching carefully, the panels that have been discussing this. And I think what people are missing, and Hillary Clinton, of course, saying, well, let's release everything. What it looks like is a lot of these emails are Abedin's emails, Huma Abedin, her advisor, her side person for over 20 years, really, her alter ego. She really knows a lot about Hillary Clinton. And, of course, her strange husband, Anthony Weiner. Now, those emails, let's say hypothetically, you sent, and you or anybody sent an email to Weiner or Abedin, and you said something in it of an embarrassing nature. Well, is it right that your email should now be made a matter of public record because you had the misfortune of having these two people who are under investigation as friends? No, it would be an invasion of your privacy rights. If the feds were investigating your taxes, would it be okay to reveal emails that had come from your good neighbors, maybe gossiping about another neighbor? No. That's why these things are privately investigated to see if there's anything there. And only when a criminal act is disclosed, sufficient to prosecute, does a prosecutor have a press conference and say, we're proceeding, there'll be an indictment. And just to finish with the answer to the thing we're asking in the beginning, what happens if she gets elected and this bad stuff comes to light that we think should have come to light earlier? Well, the founding fathers figured this out. It's called checks and balances and impeachment. And her vice president would become president of the United States. So I don't think we should disrupt the criminal justice system and the way we have investigated cases just because Mr. Comey wants to, avoid embarrassment for the FBI.
Here's the thing. So much of this is unprecedented. Two big factors leading up to Comey's letter to Congress yesterday that certainly are at play here. One of them is when the former president, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton's husband, walked onto Loretta Lynch's plane on the tarmac in Phoenix in June and had a 30-minute private conversation with her that they say was about golf and grandchildren, right before the FBI came out and said basically she was careless with emails, but there's no case here. There's that. And then there's the unprecedented press conference that Comey had in July, talking publicly about this case, which also the FBI doesn't usually do. Those two things, our Evan Perez is reporting, pushed his hand. So he felt like he had to tell Congress about this development, even if it is not significant.
Well, I understand that, but he set the train in motion, the freight train running down the track himself, when he chose to have this press conference and saying that, essentially Hillary Clinton has been cleared by our investigation. And the second thing that happened here, and now let me just tell you something about Comey. He's always been highly respected in all aspects of his career previously. But you know something? He's a lawyer and he's a prosecutor. And he's acting now like he's the top prosecutor on this case. But guess what? He's the FBI director. And that means he's a cop in this case. And his job as the equivalent of a police detective, say, or the head of all the detectives investigating the crime, is to gather the evidence and then turn it over to the Justice Department for a decision. And if Loretta Lynch can't be involved in the decision-making process because Bill Clinton decided to get on her airplane in the middle of the investigation, well, we have a procedure for that also. You have a special prosecutor appointed to deal with it. But instead, they've all short-circuited the whole process, and all of a sudden, the head of the FBI now is the chief prosecutor on the case, having press conferences about whether we're going to prosecute or not prosecute. Well, the FBI doesn't prosecute.
I got to leave it there, but I would point everyone
Okay.
to your fascinating op-ed. Just go to CNN.com. You'll see it there. Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up, outside of Chelsea Clinton and Bill Clinton, there may be no person closer to Hillary Clinton than this woman, Huma Abedin. But now her longtime aide is at the center of the latest revelations about this FBI email review. We will talk about their relationship and who she is, largely staying out of the public eye for the better part of 2 decades, though working right next to Hillary Clinton. Bill Cohen, who wrote an extensive piece on her in Vanity Fair, will join me next.